Recreation Advisory Commission report, Councilman David Curlin, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Item
Mayor.
17.
The REC had an opportunity to meet on August the 20th, or excuse me, on August the 13th. And at that time, there were several items for discussion. There were a few items that require some action on the part of council. So I'm going to briefly summarize those discussion items. The first one was the downtown to Lineberger Park Trail Connector update. And Jason Thompson had a chance to explain to RAC at that time what was ongoing with the planning process, where we're trying to connect through the downtown through a system of sidewalks, and also possibly adding some bike lanes where it makes sense, doing crosswalk markings, and making this as pedestrian friendly as possible. So this will continue from the terminus at Lineberger Park up through downtown to connect through to the Highland Greenway Trail at the police station. The second item was with regard to the master plan. As you know, we are currently operating in under a master plan which was first initiated in 2005 after several years of discussion, and at this point it's about 8 years old. And the three primary projects that were prioritized by that master plan were the Lineberger Park, Rankin Lake Park, and what was the third one? The Greenway Extension. So at this point in time, Parks and Rec are looking at that and saying, do we need to update that master plan? And they presented that to the RAC, and the RAC felt pretty strongly that it would be, important to go ahead and update that at this point in time and see what are going to be the next priorities going forward. So that process is beginning at this point, and so this will not be nearly as exhaustive as was done several years ago, but between staff and RAC, we will be looking to update this with new projects and other large maintenance capital issues and associated costs, and we'll be bringing that back to you at a little later point in time. The third one, the Optimus Park update. As you have seen, as you've driven by the Optimus Park, that that construction project is ongoing, as well as you're aware of the $170,000 that's been raised for the park, and hopefully Brenda will come back to us if there's needs for more funds, or when there's need for more funds. I'm sure there's going to be needs for more funds. So, but this was just, again, to update RAC on the progress in that park. So the item number 4, the Greenway Water Fountain request. Interesting request, has been ongoing on several occasions. We've had citizens trying to get us to put a water fountain out somewhere on the Avon-Catawba Creek Greenway. And, there's been a variety of estimates given for this project, and it's just, way too expensive to consider putting a water fountain on that greenway if it's not associated with a restroom facility. A freestanding water fountain is generally not a practical option. And so we have respectfully responded to staff and said to encourage people to carry their water bottles, and if at some point in time it makes sense to construct a full restroom facility somewhere along the greenway, that a water fountain would be included in that. So, and then the couple other items that require some action on the part of the council. There was one item where I believe the mayor was involved or approached with some folks that wanted to get involved with a permanent skate park. And at this point in time, we no longer have a skate park. You may be aware we had a pilot skate park, which was at Lineberger Park. And as Lineberger Park was redeveloped, we moved that over to Phillips, and it remained there for some point in time until it fell to disrepair. So it has been, completely removed and kind of mothballed at the moment. But it's staff's recommendation, as well as RAC's recommendation, to declare this unusable skate park equipment as surplus, and then see if there's a means by which this group might have access to purchasing this as surplus. So I make that in the form of a motion at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And then there was another interesting request, and this was with regard to a group of individuals that have an interest in playing hide and seek with some kind of a tag function to this. It's not, it may be laser tag, I don't know, but they are requesting the use of Martha Rivers Park after park closing hours sometime in the night, maybe between midnight and 2 a.m. Kind of reminds me of capture the flag, but I guess the point was we felt that the liabilities were too great to have a group of individuals out in the park at that time of night, and we're concerned about all the things that can go wrong with that. So it was discussed duly, and we felt it was in the best interest of the citizens and staff that we deny that request. But we wanted to bring it to council so that we could get your ratification. And I'd like to do that in the form of a motion that the committee voted unanimously to recommend that the city deny the request to play hide and seek and tag at Martha Rivers Park between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m.
Second.
Thank you.
Let's come back at 12 and vote on this, okay? All in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous, Regina?
Dave, what was the age group that was requested?
I think it was, I think, Chuck, I don't want to speak out of turn, so what did you estimate the age group was for this?
Actually, young professional adults between the ages of 18 and 41. There's about 25 of them.
Yeah. So we may be missing something. There may be something going on out there that, is pretty cool and that we're, squashing. I don't know, but maybe we needed a better explanation, and maybe, they need to be hiring off-duty policemen or something for that. I don't know. But at this point in time, I think with the understanding that we have, we felt that was not a good idea, so. And unless there are any questions about anything I've discussed.
I got one question on the downtown to Lineberger Park Trail Connector.
Right.
Does that have to do with the $71,000 that's left over from sidewalks and that type of thing? From the bond
Yes.
issue?
Yes.
Can we reallocate that money instead of doing this, using it for a sidewalk up off of Modena down by Bradley Park? Because they were supposed to get a sidewalk up there many years ago, and for some reason or another, they never did. Over a decade.
I think this connection was actually mentioned in all the literature for the bond issue, which
Was.
that was the bond issue that passed. I mean, for the streets, and so that's why the staff feels, I mean, although that project also needs to be done, and.
But it is for
But this-
sidewalks, right?
Yes.
I mean, the $71,000 is for sidewalks. And
It
the
is.
people have been snookered out of it up on Modena for a long time. I know there's sidewalks already in, by Chestnut and stuff. I just feel that we should take priority on it.
Ms. Gregg.
Just, as a backup to that, I have been to some of those community watches over there, along with some of the other council members, and they need the sidewalks because they have traffic issues over there too. If we can move some of that money around and get some sidewalks over there, I think it would be well worth looking into, along with the traffic issues that they have in that area down there to the, which park is down there, Chuck?
Bradley?
Bradley.
Center?
Bradley.
Right,
Bradley.
Bradley Center. And there's a lot, I know there's a lot of children that walk around down in there. And they're either walking in the street or in the yards, and they do have an issue down there. They really, really do.
Come-
Two things, both to follow up with what you folks had indicated. From going to some of those meetings, and I think you were both at meetings that we were at together, the traffic counts were somewhat high, as were the speeds, because that's being used as a cut-through to the interstate during rush hours, number one. And kind of what you had indicated before, Doctor, I'm not sure what $71,000 worth of sidewalk will buy us. Is there a way we can look and see how many feet or what that might be?
We know that. I
It's-
mean, I think,
Yeah,
There's
it's
a good
actually a
estimate on
pretty
what that is.
modest thing, because when you're building sidewalks,
Okay.
I was trying to remember that sidewalk on Kendrick, was that $1.7 million? Something like that. So you can get sidewalks when you have to build, because part of the things that drive sidewalk costs, particularly Modena, the part of Modena that doesn't have it, we built some up there at Bradley, but when you come back towards town, it's not there at all.
Right.
But if you don't have any curb and gutter, you're going to have to not only put the sidewalk in, but you also have some drainage that you have to deal with. And so the drainage cost drives it. Sidewalks then become the small part of the cost. Next thing you know, it's $800,000, and the thing gets huge. So this is a small stuff, and a lot of it is, you got some existing sidewalk, it's really cleaning that up so that a person can walk from Lineberger Park to downtown. I mean, that was what was in the bond issue, the street bond issue, and that the staff felt compelled to actually finish that piece, and it allows people to be able to go back and forth. But the cost for the one at Bradley, Rusty, or do you guys know what that is, or Flip? I mean, I think it's big. It's a lot more money than this. I don't think this is, and we're doing a pedestrian plan right now, right?
That's
And when will that pedestrian plan be finished?
We're looking at most likely having the second public meeting where the consultant that is leading that effort will be coming back with some results and some proposals. We're looking at having that, I believe, in October. We're looking at having a steering committee meeting prior to that at some point in September. In fact, I was just discussing that with some of the staff today. But the Modena corridor, that is something that is a big discussion point as part of the pedestrian plan process. I've heard from many of those residents who over the years directly, they've been in my office, and there is a real problem out there. But I would echo what Ed is saying, in that the Lineberger to downtown connector is mainly a couple of gap fill-ins, some repair of some broken up sidewalk pieces, and really importantly is getting some intersection markings and improvements. One thing in terms of a pedestrian system and being a walking friendly community is that you can have great sidewalks, but if you don't have good ways for folks to safely and comfortably get through intersections, it does limit that overall walkability. So the $71,000, relatively modest amount of money when you're talking about, as Ed said, doing new sidewalk construction, maybe having to put in new curb lines, moving other existing infrastructures, whether it be roadside swales or putting in stormwater systems. You get into items that are hundreds of thousands, if not into the millions of dollars, when you start talking about significant lengths of sidewalk, which it would be in Modena.
And we can get
Example.
for the council at maybe even at the next meeting, a preliminary estimate, because I thought we had an old one. I think we've done that before, to give you an idea of the missing section and how much it would cost, and get that to the city council, so you can see that whole cost, and then we can try to then talk about where you're going to get the money. I mean, that's it's the reason that this one hadn't gotten done is because it's costly.
Mr. Pearsall, Mr. Gray, Mr. Kimball.
This sidewalk issue on Modena has come up before, and we have heard an estimate, and it is large. But as Jason said, this is something that's been requested for years and years and years and years. And what's the name of the neighborhood right there off Modena?
Reagan
Sunday?
Sundance. Thank you.
You talking about that?
Did that developer not have to put money back for sidewalks at some point? We've discussed that too. Isn't there money in reserve for sidewalks in that? So, I mean, there's already a start to a pot of money. And I'm not saying take this 71,000 now, but if you have 71,000 here, you have another 50,000 there. Over the years, we keep saying, well, that one's too expensive, we're gonna do this cheaper one now. Well, that's too expensive, we're gonna do this cheaper one now. Well, had we done it years ago when we knew we needed it, it'd be done. We wouldn't be hearing these complaints anymore. So let's quit putting this on the back burner and get it done. I've been to these same meetings, and I've heard about it and heard about it and heard about it. And evidently, it's filtered through all the council members at this point, and it's great that it's being talked about, but how long has it been talked about? Let's get it done.
We
And-
got a
and
bunch,
just-
we got a bunch. You want, excuse me, you want to reply to him, then Ms. Craig, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Gallagher.
Councilman, I was gonna say, you are correct. There was a development up there where the developer did have to put up so much money per house built, and that is in a reserve fund. But it also, at least like to suggest or recommend to council at our prior transportation committee meeting, we have a lot of citizens with a lot of requests out there, and at least our intent was to organize those projects, come up with a prioritization process for those, work in conjunction with the master plan, and bring all those projects back to council, because we've had several projects that have been on that list for several years, and Modena is one of those, but it is a long list, and we would certainly at least recommend we look at it, all of those in their entirety before we look at one single one, but that's just a recommendation from staff.
But we think Modena is one of the top priorities, absolutely. And I think that what we'll do is try to get that better cost estimate for you and take a look at. And there are other important links, but it's certainly perhaps the most important link that's still out there to get done.
Ms. Craig?
Well, I was just gonna reiterate exactly, this has been on an ongoing issue for years, okay? And it seems as though it just keeps getting pushed back for whatever reason, okay? And I understand the being able, having to prioritize and all that, I understand that and where money's coming from. But it would seem like that if the staff knows that those people have been in your office and been complaining and need help, and we keep telling them, well, yeah, we're gonna get to it. Well, we need to get to it, okay? We need to walk the talk. So I just reiterate exactly what I think some of us council members that have been there and heard and seen what's going on out there, and that we need to address it. So that's just
Okay,
what I
Mr.
wanted
Campbell?
to say.
Yes, Rusty, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, from some of the prior meetings that we attended, from the folks that, in the community watch there at Modena and some other folks, I think it's been a while since we've done a cost estimate on that, so I would want to maybe do an update, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was quite a spell.
Yeah, we're going to go back after this meeting and have some updated numbers ready
Okay.
for you at the next meeting. We'll pass that out to you through the manager's office.
Thank you.
Rusty,
Yes, sir.
did we put a bus stop in for those people up there in Modena? Do you know, a shelter one? Because I know that's one of their big
I don't
requests.
think we put a shelter in. I think we did do some work.
To stop the
clearing and-
flooding.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
don't think we actually put a
runoff.
pad and a shelter down.
Can you look into that?
Yeah.
The other thing is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. $71,000 doesn't get us far, but it'd get us something. It'll allow them to know that, hey, we're looking out for you. Yeah, I would like to see the connector. I'd like to see bike paths and stuff like that. It would look nice. It would dress things up. But I think up there, we need to start addressing it. And 71,000 might get us, what, 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 yards? I don't know, but it'll do something. And we need to start somewhere.
Okay,
That ends my report.
that is your report, and Mr. Campbell still got his hand up over there. Go ahead, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Going back, Doctor, going back to item number 4, as someone that routinely forgets their water bottle until they get real thirsty and realizes they don't have a water bottle with them, I'm down with a lot of the issues that you and the committee raised here. If a corporate donor was to be identified, or several corporate donors in the $7,000 to $10,000 range, would we be able to realistically move forward with something like that?
Mr. Dellinger probably
I
can
don't know
speak to that.
Really to ask.
Yeah.
Water fountain guy.
Yeah.
Councilman Kimball, I will tell you that yes, we could move forward with that, but I would not recommend it. A standalone water fountain on a section of the greenway that is not attached to a building, it won't last long. It will not, vandalism is a problem that you have in remote areas, and standalone water fountains seem to take the brunt of that in a park system. We used to have them at Ferguson Park, a lot of areas in Lineberger Park, and we've had to take them out of service. Plus, to be quite frank and quite honest, very few parents allow their children to drink out of water fountains today. Unless they're attached to a building where they feel very confident, or in a building, very confident that it is clean and sanitary. That's just our findings from Parks and Recreation standpoint.
Yes, sir. Okay. Item 18, appointment to the Gastonia Planning Commission, Ward 4, President, Mr. Ward 4.
Mayor, unfortunately, we still do not have an appointment to announce.
Yes, sir.
We will continue that.
All right.